respected guests, esteemed dignitaries, and valued colleagues, a very warm welcome to the launch of the 4th edition of the State of the Sector Report 2024, Farmer Producer Organization in India. It's an honor to host this gathering of accomplishment, individual both here in person and virtually, as we came together to discuss the future of the FPO ecosystem. Today marks a significant milestone in our collective commitment empowering farmer collective across the country. To officially commence the program, it is my privilege to invite Mr. Ramesh Chand, Chairperson of the NAFPO Steering Committee, to deliver the welcome address. Mr. Sharma, leadership and dedication has been pivotal in guiding NAFPO's effort and driving progress in the FPO sector. Please join in welcoming Sir on the stage.
Namaskar, good afternoon, and thank you so much for joining us today. I'm very privileged to be able to welcome Professor Ramesh Chand, member of the NITI Aayog, Mr. Dheeraj Sahu from the MD of SFAC, Mr. Faiz Ahmed Kidwai, the Additional Secretary in the Ministry of Agriculture. We have distinguished speakers, Mr. Arindam Datta, Mr. Anil Kumar SG from Samunnati, Mr. Day from NABARD. Thank you all for joining us today and for your constant support to NAFPO. I think most people here are aware that NAFPO is a not-for-profit trust which basically exists to build awareness about FPOs and the ecosystem around FPOs. Its mandate is to act as a dialogue platform to encourage inter-sectoral partnerships, but most importantly, to track the progress and the list of challenges and issues which confront the FPO ecosystem. And one of the tools that NAFPO settled upon 4 years ago was this annual report, which is basically a compilation of the major milestones in the previous 12 months, highlighting both progress and outstanding challenges. We are very fortunate that this report is actually a collection of contributions by eminent members from the civil society sector, from academia, from industry, from the financial sector. So the report reflects no one particular point of view, but actually a series of perspectives on what is working, what should be addressed, and what is the challenge, but also the potential of the whole FPO ecosystem. We've always brought this report out as a public document, which is there in the public domain to invite suggestions, invite reactions, comments, also criticism. The intention is that every year we learn something new and we build upon that in the next year's report. Today, I think it's extremely fortuitous that 3 of the key players that have, in a sense, been champions of the FPO sector, Professor Ramesh Chand, when I was in SFAC, like Dheeraj, he was one of the first people who was within the government at senior levels, who was very supportive of this whole idea of FPOs at a time when many people would interrupt me and ask me, what does the term FPO stand for? Cooperatives were the flavor of the day. Of course, they are a very important set of institutions. NABARD is here. NABARD championed only cooperatives, not a criticism, but I'm very also proud to say that very early NABARD also got converted to the FPO cause and has supported both cooperatives and FPOs. And I believe that we need multiple member-owned institutions in the agriculture sector, cooperatives, associations, SHGs, federations of SHGs, and also, of course, producer companies. The other great champion and supporter is Mr. Faiz Ahmed Kidwai, and he's a colleague from Madhya Pradesh, where again he was one of the early supporters of the FPO cause, and then as in various roles in the state, but now particularly in the last 2 years in the ministry, Faiz has been the driving force behind the draft FPO policy, which was arrived at after extensive consultations with FPOs, civil society, academia, industry players, financial sector institutions, and we hope to see the final shape of that policy very soon. Dheeraj has just joined as MD SFAC. We welcome him, and we take it for granted that SFAC will continue to be the strong champion of FPOs that it has always been. I think the leadership shown by successive MDs of SFAC after I left, in keeping alive this flame, in taking it further, in bringing new aspects, in bringing in new ideas, especially under the 10,000 FPO scheme, I think is most creditable. We are also fortunate that we have some old supporters like Arindam from Rabobank. Again, he was one of the first people who saw the importance of the guarantee system and use of the guarantee structure to enable FPOs to access institutional finance. That was a pioneering. In fact, I and SFAC basically copied the guarantee structure that was originally created by Rabobank. And then, of course, NABARD came with its own guarantee structure. We have today, we are fortunate that we have 2 or 3 such structures in different parts, both of the government and the private sector. My good friend and colleague Anil from Samunnati, I met him just in my closing months at SFAC when somebody recommended that I should meet this person who's trying to set up an NBFC to finance FPOs. And at that time, banks were very reluctant to give money to FPOs. And I thought this guy must be slightly, off center, that he's wanting to set up an NBFC to finance FPOs. But the pioneering work that Anil has done in opening up the whole sector. Today, of course, Samunnati is the market leader in financing FPOs, but also I think in so many other ways of support through market linkage, through technology and capacity building. So thank you. And of course, to all other friends who are present here. Your presence marks the very vital support and energy that this sector has flourished on and will continue to need going forward. So once again, a warm welcome to Professor Ramesh Chand, to Faiz and to Dheeraj, and to all of you for taking time off this afternoon to be here. And I request Ashish Argade, Professor at IRMA, who was kind enough to edit this year's volume, to please share a gist of this year's report, and then we'll take forward the rest of the program. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Respected dignitaries on the dais and eminent members in the audience. Very good afternoon to all of you. I am Ashish, and it was an honor for being to be editor of this SOFPO 2024. I'll briefly run you through the major contents of this report. So if I were to look at the entire document, the composition of this, I would look at it in 3 ways. I mean, the different chapters can be categorized into one, which I would call the primary chapters, second, the thematic ones, and third, the exclusive ones. What I constitute primary is the core or the soul of the report, which actually talks of what is the status of FPOs today in the country. So just to share a few numbers, as of March 2024, there were over 35,000 FPOs registered in the country. Now, a major boost to the FPOs actually came from the 10,000 FPO program, which was launched in 2019. And out of this, over 8,400 FPOs have been formed under the 10,000 FPO program. Effectively, this particular program has contributed to around 30% of the total FPOs that exist in the country today. In addition to this, there was a survey undertaken among the FPOs. And some of the interesting findings here is one, irrespective of the status of the FPO in the sense its longevity and the kind of activities that the FPO is undertaking, there has been a clear emphasis on having robust management, governance and bookkeeping. The second one was the strong role of government agencies in various kind of support activities as well as financing. So looking at the number of FPOs formed due to the 10,000 FPOs program and the kind of support they have been receiving from government agencies, I think it can be inferred that government plays a key role or has played a key role in bringing the FPOs to whatever stage they exist today. The survey has also brought out some significant challenges that they face. One was where the FPOs reported that they needed more streamlined and simpler registration processes. They required handholding for various kinds of license requirements, more importantly for market linkages, and the necessity of a state federation which can actually bring scale and also bargaining power to the FPOs. Now, since the entire ecosystem itself or the core chapter itself talks of formation of FPOs, we took that as the underlying theme, and accordingly I would say that the theme for this SOFPO 2024 was about rooting and early growth stage of FPOs. So a couple of chapters were invited from academicians, practitioners and policymakers under this background. So we have one chapter which actually brings out the conceptual part of what is required for FPOs, and it talks of aspects such as alignment of needs of the members with the goals of the business goals of the FPOs, identifying low-hanging fruits such that success is demonstrated to the members to keep them interested and invested in the activities of the FPOs. At the same time, financial sustainability becomes very important to keep the organization alive and kicking. And finally, necessity of output market engagement, which itself is fraught with difficulties and challenges. However, its necessity right from the beginning is important. Along with this, we have 3 chapters which kind of bring in the practitioner's perspective, which are all case studies from people in the industry who have been working closely with FPOs. So we have one case study which talks of VBKRS Mahila Krishi Utpadak Company Limited, and while the conceptual paper and this paper were completely, there was no coordination between the authors, but we find a clear alignment in terms of what is required and how this has been manifesting in the field. So this article talks of how the entire process could be operationalized, and there are various examples given. How to, the importance of something as basic as an office space or a place where FPO members feel that they belong, and how to build member patronage, financial viability, and so on. The second case study talks of Lokunnati Krishi Farmer Producer Company, where technology becomes the base of having this member engagement, business operational efficiency, access to finance, and even digitizing farm operations. Now, all this is possible because there was technology, and this technology was able to cater to the scale which comes from a large number of members in the FPO. The third case study again talks of Jharkhand Society for Livelihood Promotion and Grameen Foundation of India. It highlights the importance of social capital development. It doesn't restrict to having physical facilities or processes alone, but the necessity of imbibing and inculcating social capital development to ensure that the organization remains a going concern and keeps the members involved. After this thematic, we have certain other articles which I would call exclusive and which are very unique to this particular edition of SOFPO. One is an interview with Shri Faiz Ahmad Kidwai sir, Additional Secretary, Ministry of Agriculture and Farmers Welfare, Government of India, where he has reflected upon how this FPO movement has unfolded. And mark my words, I would still call it FPO movement because in itself it's a movement gathering momentum. And he also talks about in this interview about the potential scope of FPOs, not just from a very narrow perspective, but as the nodal agency for bringing in agricultural development and innovation. He also talks of FPOs and cooperatives not being adverse entities, but a possible collaboration between FPOs and cooperatives and FPOs and corporates, and also shares his vision for the future. The next unique aspect of this report is this chapter on ease of doing business. Now, this is a pioneering index developed by NAFPO team, which has looked at 6 different parameters to assess ease of doing business for FPOs in different states. They have looked at 6 parameters. One is the presence or absence of state-level policy or guidelines for FPOs. Second, the ease of obtaining licenses. Third, extension of different benefits to FPOs. Fourth, the access to credit. Fifth, preferential procurement. And sixth, state federation of FPOs. Along these parameters, states have been ranked, and while this is just a beginning, I'm sure most of you would have a lot of ideas to share with this, but it is interesting and worth appreciating that a beginning has been made in identifying FPOs as a commercial entity who also have to look at business as an integral part of their commitment. The other chapter is about experience of women-led FPOs. Now this chapter, while we talk of feminization of agriculture, there is also, there are a few FPOs which are completely women-led. These FPOs function a little differently as compared to the regular FPOs in terms of their challenges as well as the ways of overcoming those challenges. So if you look at the challenges which women-led FPOs face, number one, land ownership. Most women farmers in India do not own lands. But because of the male members of the family migrating to urban areas, farming is left in the hands of women. And despite running the farms, they do not have ownership of the land. Under such circumstances, how are they managing this? Second is social constraints. Third, accessing schemes for women beneficiaries. These have been identified as challenges using anecdotes and small case studies in the chapter. At the same time, the chapter also holds out suggestions for overcoming these challenges through gender sensitization program for the FPO members and the board members, capacity building programs, and having a women-centric policy. This was the gist of the overall report. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir, for the insightful overview. Now we come to significant moment in today's program, the official release of the SFPO report. It's a great honor to have Professor Ramesh Chand, member of NITI Aayog, Chairman of the Institute of Economic Growth, New Delhi, and our chief guest to unveil the report. I request Mr. Sharma to kindly present the inaugural copy of the report to Professor Chand for the official release. Thank you so much, sir, for unveiling the SFPO 2024 report. As we continue, we have the privilege to hearing from several leaders who have made significant contribution to the advancement of the FPO sector. I would like to invite Mr. Dheeraj Mutreja of Rabobank Foundation to share his remark. Rabobank Foundation has been a steadfast supporter of NAFPO and will look forward to hearing your thoughts. Mr. Mutreja.
Good afternoon, everyone. I would like to thank NAFPO and Mr. Ramesh Sharma for inviting me here today for release of the State of the Sector FPO Report 2024. I would say it is an honor to be in presence of such distinguished leaders in the agriculture sector today who have helped in shaping the FPO sector in the country. The sector needs a collective experience and wisdom to move into the next stage of growth. Before I don't know if any of you know about Rabo Foundation or Rabobank, but I would like to give a brief introduction. Rabo Foundation is a social fund of Rabobank. Rabobank is Netherlands' largest bank, one of the leading bank in Netherlands, and is the leading bank in food and agri segment in the world. Rabo Foundation is a social fund, is a charity organization based out of Netherlands, and it is a mandate to improve livelihood of smallholder farmers in developing countries. An interesting fact about Rabobank is it's a cooperative bank. It's still a cooperative bank which is owned, you can say, by half the population of Netherlands. It was formed around 126 years ago by smallholder farmers in Netherlands coming together. So it has a very strong cooperative principle. In India, Foundation has been present since 2008 with an on-ground presence. We have been involved in promoting FPOs through capacity building programs, but more notably through facilitating access to finance. We were the first ones to provide credit guarantee to a financial institution for extending credit to FPO in 2013. Post that, we have supported many FPOs, first on a standalone basis, and then through our loan portfolio financing program basis with various banks and our partnership with various banks and NBFCs. One of our most important partners, Samunnati, is here, with whom we have supported many FPOs through financing programs. We have been associated with NAFPO since 2018-2019, and have seen them taking important steps in promoting FPOs through various initiatives. I would like to give a quote by Dr. Verghese Kurian. The greatest satisfaction and joy come from priceless reward that comes when farmers whose lives depend on your effort appreciate what is being done from them. I believe many of us in this sector would have seen this change in the life of farmers associated with FPOs. And I believe this is what FPO movement is designed to do, improving livelihood of farmers, especially smallholder farmers. We, as Rabo Foundation, really appreciate this initiative of NAFPO coming out with this state of sector report on an annual basis. There are many studies that are done on FPOs with foundations, universities, but none on an annual basis, which gives an overview of how the sector is performing, how the FPOs have evolved, what are the issues that are changing when FPO movement started, and what it is at right now, how different stakeholders look at it. As a supporting partner to NAFPO, over the years we have seen NAFPO taking some great initiatives in the FPO ecosystem. Their digital tools like Bharat FPO Finder, Simply Khata, FPO Incorporation app, HR portal are some of the great tools that can help FPOs. Their independent director development program. This is truly a revolutionary idea that can bring much needed expertise to FPOs. And we have seen them building partnerships with various stakeholders, both in the government and in the private sector. I would like to conclude that FPO movement will continue to lead us support from all the stakeholders, and an organization like NAFPO is much needed to work with these stakeholders to make FPO movement a success. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for your valuable insight. Next, I would like to call upon Mr. Arindam Datta, sir, formerly with Rabobank, to offer his perspective on the ongoing development within the sector. Welcome, sir.
Thank you. It's a real pleasure to be here. I think very little to be said. A lot has been said. A lot more will be said. Just a couple of points. Now, it's extremely important to have data. Without data, policy making is not effective. Without data for the economic and the business stakeholders, it's extremely, extremely difficult to do business. And more importantly, it's not only the market linkage or access to finance that we talk of, but the climate challenge that's facing us and farmers across the world. Unless we have data and technology to be able to address these issues, we will not be able to make a dent. And this is where FPOs will make a huge change to the way we look at climate solutions, because ultimately when we talk of regenerative agriculture, it's water, soil, and it's the farmers who are involved there more than the supply chain. We have to start from there. And that's why these reports are extremely, extremely useful to be able to link to the different climate initiatives, the supply chain efficiency initiatives, the food security, nutrition security initiatives of different organizations around the sun. Now, having said that, one word of caution, whenever we talk of the FPC, FPO movement, we talk about the large numbers, whether it's number of FPCs, FPOs, or with the farmers who have been linked. One thing I find consciously missing from the discussion of FPCs is the quality of the FPCs. Let us not ignore that. There are issues in the sector. Let us recognize that issue and let us try to attend to that issue and to see how we can, address these issues, because we cannot just put in resources and effort and, and some of the badly designed ideas around FPCs just push it forward. We need to look at what's working and support that. Otherwise, it may just become another agriculture cooperative society that we have seen in the past. And the last point I would like to make is FPC, it's nothing but a cooperative which has been registered under the Companies Act. And so the idea of cooperative, it extends larger. It's about all stakeholders from the private sector, the academia, the research organizations, the public sector, the government, and the civil society. Mr. Praveshji, you talked about all these sectors. They all need to come together, because otherwise the challenges we are facing and the opportunities we have ahead of us is not going to work. And I'm sure that the work that NAFPO is doing is simply incredible, and we do hope to see a lot more initiatives from the dignitaries on the stage, please. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir, for your insightful remark. We now turn to Shri M.K. Day, General Manager at NABARD, to share his remark on the sector. We are eager to hear from you, sir.
Good afternoon, everybody. Distinguished guests on the dais. Who's who in FPO sector in this hall. First of all, let me thank the organizer for inviting NABARD in this excellent function and release of State of the Sector report. At the outset, I must compliment NAFPO for bringing out this report, and really speaking, I have gone through the entire report and the quality of report is excellent, especially with respect to the case studies. It was highly appreciative. And the one important point which I wanted to make is that the ease of doing business that has been attempted, and I feel it can be extended to all other states also. But one point I wanted to just mention here is the ease of getting credit. I don't know whether the state has got also a role to play. That we can discuss at later time. I wish NABARD also would have been part of this report. We could have also contributed, but definitely next time we'll try to do that, definitely. Yeah. Some important developments in the FPO sector, just I wanted to make a mention. National FPO policy, I think what Sharma ji has mentioned, the national FPO policy which is in the offing, and NABARD is also part of that, and it will be a really game changer in the FPO movement. Saturation drive, which government and all stakeholders participated for getting licenses for the FPOs. Not only licenses, for ONDC registration, GST registration, even for export also. So that has really created a good impetus in the FPO sector. I just wanted to mention the traction in the credit sector has really improved. Because last 1 year, because of coming of NAP Sanrakshan, the credit guarantee fund which they are housing, I think the many bankers are also there. My friend from Axis Bank also there. It has really gained momentum because of this credit guarantee fund. Some of the issues I like to highlight, I don't know, this has been, some of them have been repeated also. Skewed distribution of FPOs all over India. I think you must be aware. 2 states, Maharashtra and UP, almost contribute 52% of the FPOs in this year. Maybe because of the activeness of state government, but this really we need to really think over. Women participation. I think as per NABARD statistics, we have around 11 to 12% of the women participation. So I think women participation, as Professor also was mentioning, it is very much required for the, because agriculture is led by women. So that one important point. Developing financing model. NABARD is working on that. I think Government of India Ministry has given some task to NABARD, that FPO financing policy, one committee has been constituted, and we are trying to develop some models for FPO financing, including co-lending or mezzanine capital, which is very popular in Tamil Nadu also. There is a need for a shared services entity in FPO sector. Now just let me tell you the compliance for FPCs, farmer producers companies, is really an worrisome game. Around 40% of the FPOs, we made just a pessimistic study. There we could see that around 40% of the FPOs are now having some penalty. It may be varying from 500 to even more than 10 lakhs, which is totally eroding their capital. So that has to be really studied. In fact, I invite NAPRO, if you can take up a study on behalf of NABARD also on this line. So you need to really think of, and sir, मैं आपको sir information के लिए बता दूँ, NABARD has called around 7,000 FPOs, and 85% of the FPOs are under farmers producers company, and only 15% are in the cooperative sector. Linkage with corporate, that is one important point for FPOs to gain momentum. And now you must have seen ITC, Patanjali, Agri, all corporates, they are coming forward in promotion of FPOs, and that we need to highlight this thing. Some of the NABARD's initiative, let me tell you, we have recently revised our guideline also for FPO sector, and we really acknowledge the fact that the FPO require a longer period support. So we have given a grant assistance extended up to 5 years, but in a tapering mode, not in a same way. Third and fourth year will be lesser, and fees and as on. We have started FPO accelerator program. We have selected some mid-size FPOs, and we wanted to bring them at a level which is maybe their turnover will be more than 10 crore. So that is the objective of this event. So we have started that FPO accelerator program also. Incentive for the promoting institutions for giving credit support, for facilitating credit support and export also we have introduced. And NABARD is also working on ERP solution for FPOs, which is need of the hour. One last comment which I wanted to make in this house, I think it is FPOs, they are organization of small and marginal farmers. So the FPOs also should be treated at par with startup. I think with this, I once again thank NAPRO to invite NABARD in this program, and also for coming out with a state of the sector report, fourth issue, I think. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for the remarks. The collaboration between Samunnati and NAFPO has been instrumental in advancing the development and growth of FPOs. And to speak on this, I am pleased to invite Mr. Anil Kumar SG, founder and CEO of Samunnati, to share his insight. Welcome, sir.
Good afternoon, everyone. Respected Professor Ramesh Chand sir, respected Fayaz Ahmad sir, and respected Dheeraj Sahu sir, good to see you today, and Pravesh sir for constantly encouraging us to be on the path of this FPO movement. I'm really happy to note that we have one more edition of the State of the Sector report for the FPO to be having been released today. Some of us who have been part of this financial inclusion journey for a long time, I see Arindam as a co-passenger here, I see Suramani Raul, part of that, Amit Arora. We realized how important the State of the Sector reports were in the financial inclusion journey in the context of microfinance. Because these State of Sector reports, year on year, helped us understand what's happening in the sector, the areas of focus, how each of the engines that would propel the sector to the direction or in the direction that all of us would want the sector to move are firing. Is there some calibration required? And most importantly, bring attention to few aspects of the sector that needs attention. And that's what is the attempt that has been made in the State of Sector report for FPOs 2024 as well. We at Samunnati value the relationship that we have with NAFPO in coming out with this annual publication. And in the previous 2 publications that we have had, the number of copies that we have proudly distributed among all the relevant stakeholders in this segment has created a lot of awareness about this FPO. And I would not disagree, or I would completely agree the fact that this is indeed is a movement, FPO movement. And what are the aspects of a movement? It's a groundswell. And when you talk about Arindam data that is required for the FPOs, we did a small exercise from the data that we have recently launched, and Fayaz sir in fact launched the Bharat Finder FPO, a publicly available database of all the FPOs in this country on 3rd of September in Hyderabad. We could scrapping the data from the Ministry of Company Affairs, put together the data of about 42,000 FPOs. And the exercise that we did was reaching out to the FPOs, and I'm very happy to say that we could reach out to about 26,876 FPOs on phone in first attempt. And many of them are not part of any subsidy, government or other programs. And when we spoke about what is their motivation, they are seeing this as a vehicle to represent the collective interest of the farmer. So what this, for me, as a traveler in this space, indicates is when there is a movement, then there is a groundswell. And enablers became catalysts, but not the reason to survive. What is heartening to see is there are many FPOs which are not coming up because there is some grant available, because there is some subsidy program available. They know that there is a viable and sustainable model to be built to represent the collective interest of the farmer in a business structure. And I completely agree with Day sir when he says this is a startup. Of course, it is a startup. And there are multiple activities that we are seeing in the FPO space. Now, when you look at this kind of an ecosystem, you would definitely wonder what are the aspects that are driving the scale in this ecosystem. One, of course, is the availability of finance. And Samunnati is grateful and privileged to be playing an important role in that. But what we are also seeing is many other players, including some of the large banks, are taking interest in understanding the FPO as an asset class. And in order to engage with them, they are looking for a common language. And again, taking a parallel from the financial inclusion journey that we have all seen, CRISIL MFI grading tool played an important role to bring about the common language among all the MFIs at that point in time. And I'm happy to share that CRISIL and Samunnati have brought out a grading tool that defines what a well-functioning FPO is and what an FPO can do in their business enterprise, and what is the common language that we need to have. Where do we go after the grading tool? Definitely the credit history comes into the picture. And now the aspiration is, can we have our own bureau, right, where we would be able to articulate the credit history of these entities, where the lenders in this space can come about and share the data among themselves, so that the credit history of the FPOs becomes an asset, not a liability. Bureaus are not there to find fault, but bureaus are there to enhance the flow of credit to the right partners, so to say. Now, if you see the enablers that we have in the ecosystem, the level of support that the policy and the government is extending to the FPO world is phenomenal. And we, as all the beneficiaries of those efforts, are grateful for all the effort that is going on, be it creating a level playing field for the guarantee program, where even non-bank finance companies with specific criteria are eligible for that. Looking at how do we bring market players into the market linkages of the produce of the FPOs, all the way to making the processing, the secondary processing also part of the AIF. We are seeing a lot more enablers. What is also heartening to note is the FPOs themselves are looking at themselves as enterprises. We have several of our FPOs which have Udyam certificate. They are behaving and accessing schemes that are relevant for the MSMEs. And most importantly, some of them are also utilizing platforms like Threads to discount their receivables, which means they are in the market linkages already. So what do we do from here? Can we create a more enabling, coordinated effort among all of us to be able to nurture the FPOs beyond what we look at from them? Not just hand-holding from the dimension of subsidies and grants. They are important but not sufficient. Can we handhold them in market linkages? Can we handhold them in institution building of their thinking? And can we handhold them in engaging with the mainstream market players like a partner, not like a beneficiary, but like a partner? I would like to conclude by saying that the quality of the FPOs is critical. The gender dimension of the FPOs are critical, and one chapter that Samunnati contributed to the State of the Sector report indeed is on the gender. And Professor, you have brought about the highlights of why it is important to focus on gender. And we are seeing inspiring examples of women in Chikbalapur, growing coffee plantation, reaching out to larger markets, right? Fantastic entities in the Hindi heartland, being run by women only and women-led FPOs and at scale. So these are the resilient examples that are proving us that women-led, women-only FPOs are going to be a big force to reckon with. And Samunnati is glad to have highlighted few case studies and few aspects of that in this State of the Sector report. So on that note, thank you everyone for giving Samunnati an opportunity to be part of this exercise. And we look forward to proliferating this report among all the stakeholders for a larger understanding of these FPOs. The only request that I would have is, without banks, no financial sector scale can happen. And if there is a way where we bring in the dimension of the PSL specifically for the FPOs among the larger PSL guidelines that banks have, then there will be a huge focus and an attempt to achieve those numbers, and that would be a game changer, right? On that hope and aspiration, I wish the FPO sector a great year ahead, and looking forward for the next year of the State of the Sector report. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for highlighting the significant impact of our partnership. We now welcome Mr. Dheeraj Sahu, Managing Director of SFAC, to share his special remarks on SFAC's role in supporting the FPO movement. We welcome you, sir.
Thank you. Esteemed member of NITI Aayog, Professor Ramesh Chand ji, Chairman Steering Committee of NAFPO, Shri Pravesh Sharma ji, Founder and CEO Samunnati, Shri Anil Kumar S.G., and other dignitaries here, and the esteemed guests. It's really a pleasure for me to be here and be part of the launch ceremony for this State of FPO report for this year. As just explained before us, the report contains many important, many useful data and the findings which would be able to help the reader understand the progress and challenges and the opportunities that FPOs face in the way they evolve. An index of ease of doing business would also be useful for anyone for the assessing the overall environment that is available to FPOs to work in their region. I am representing SFAC here, and as you may be aware that SFAC is also the nodal agency for the 10K FPO program of Government of India. I would like to briefly dwell upon the progress of this program in the country. Till date, more than 9,000 FPOs have been registered under the program, taking in its fold more than 24 lakh farmers spread over 33 states and union territories and covering more than 7,000 blocks of 748 districts of the country. The FPO scheme that was started in 2020 by Government of India is now maturing, and the FPOs are now moving from their initial mass mobilization phase to taking up the business now. More than 4,500 FPOs have already received equity grant from Government of India. As I would like to bring to your notice here that the Government of India under this 10K FPO program contributes to equity grant and also defrays the management cost of the FPOs. Besides, it also has a scheme of credit guarantee which covers loans up to rupees 2 crores. Studies have shown that membership of an FPO has a positive relationship with crop incomes and farm profits. This is driven by the fact that the FPOs help in improved bargaining power, fetching lower input costs, higher output costs, and better access to extension services, credit, marketing, and facilitates greater use of technology. However, as one of the speakers pointed out here, quality of the FPOs is of immense importance. And realizing this thing, government is already working on evolving an assessment tool for FPOs, which will help us understand where actually the FPO stands and take necessary corrective actions in time. On its part, government is trying to equip these FPOs in the best possible manner. As you may be aware, government has already come out with a learning management system in order to give them market linkages both backward and forward. The state governments have been actively pursued to give input licenses to the FPOs. Besides, for the output marketing, we have tried to persuade the FPOs to come overboard the ONDC and the eNAM platforms that are the potent electronic platforms. And in the days to come, I feel that these efforts will lead to faster progress of these FPOs. As of now, if we look at the collective turnover of the FPOs under the 10K FPO program, it is approximately rupees 1,500 crores, which is not much, but also looking at the early stage of the program, and as these FPOs will mature, this number will definitely rise. We have roped in around 485 cluster-based business organizations, and they are a very important link between the government and the FPOs. They play a very critical role and basically act as the face of the government in the field, in the actual place where the FPOs exist. Their role is very critical, and they can make or break the scheme. And I see that there is a wide range of performance level from these CBBOs. At one end are some CBBOs doing wonderful job, while at the other end there are some who are almost absent from the field. We are trying to address those issues in different multiple ways, but the challenges I feel that stare before the FPOs today are the capacity building. The impression that we get that many of the FPOs still need a lot of hand holding in understanding what they are supposed to do under this arrangement of FPO. Then there are issues and challenges relating to the availability of capital, credit, and of course sustainability. We have to see that these FPOs do not wither away once the government support withdraws. So we have to be consciously making effort and to find out ways in which these FPOs can become more sustainable. By an estimate, around more than 45,000 FPOs have been registered in the country, and only 27,000 of them are actively operational as on date. Again, this is different estimates are coming from different sources, and that explains the need for having a robust data collection system and a data registry. Government has realized this and is also working on developing a strong farm registry. There are several things that government can do. The state's role can never be underestimated, as mentioned here by one of the speaker, because they are providing the input licenses, and for the convergence of the FPO's operation with government schemes, that will happen only through state government's help, because most of these schemes, be it a central scheme or state scheme, they are implemented through state governments. So the state's role can never be downplayed, underplayed. So that's what I just wanted to share. And I once again congratulate NAFPO for publishing this report, and I'm sure this report would give good insights to the policymakers and to any reader and to people who deal with FPO, and to recalibrate their strategy in how they handle the FPOs and deal with the FPOs. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for your encouraging words. As we look ahead, the session titled FPO, The Road Ahead will provide valuable insight on the path forward. It's an honor to invite Mr. Faiz Kidwai, Additional Secretary with the Ministry of Agriculture and Farmers' Welfare, to present his vision for the future of FPO. Mr. Kidwai, sir, the stage is yours.
Thank you, Professor Ramesh Chand Saab, Pravesh Sharma sir, my colleague Dheeraj, all the participants and all those who have actively contributed to this report. Let me first congratulate NAFPO and Samunnati for bringing out the 4th edition, and we were in discussion with them on, and I'm happy that you have included the ease of doing business. I hope once we circulate it to states, there will be some traction there that how do they improve their rankings in this sector. I think a lot has been said on what developments have taken place and what all is being planned. As we understand, in a country like India, where almost 90% of our farmers are small and marginal, I think making them stand on their feet to face the market, to face the various challenges, this is one very viable alternative. And unless and until we don't give them the scale which we are looking at, I don't really see that this movement will achieve what it has been set out to do. So we started with thinking about an FPO policy. When we looked at it, what we found was that earlier there was a draft policy which was prepared, but due to some reasons it did not see the light of the day. It was not officially launched or released. So we made a committee and we started working on the policy. And I'm happy to share that it has been a very an exercise which has drawn a lot of attention. We even put it on a public platform and we got more than 3,000 comments. And then we could distill those comments and we incorporated a lot of the suggestions in the policy. The policy basically is with the thought of what next, where to take the FPOs in future. And federating them, bringing in economies of scale, hand-holding that whole process, that exercise, through the present structure and the future structures which may be required for an exercise like that, is something which the policy is basically looking at. Apart from that, what we have done is we have had deliberations with the partners in the ecosystems, be it the CBBOs, be it the banking, the finance sector, and we have looked at the issues which FPOs are facing today. If you look at the FPO movement, a lot of it has been organic. If you see the 45,000 FPOs which have been formed, only 9,200 are the ones which have been created through CBBOs or through some agency. Others, there has been support from, there could be NGOs, there could be various agencies, but then they have come up on their own with the realization that this collectivization is something which is benefiting them, which is good for them to face the challenges which largely small and marginal farmers face today. And if you look at the various government programs also, one thing is you would see that most of the government programs are, the beneficiaries are either big or marginal farmers, because many small and marginal farmers are not able to access those programs or not able to afford them. So an FPO movement is something which which is really the requirement for them. So one aspect is to come out with a policy and to share it with states and encourage states to bring their own policies and to design policies on the basis of the national policies, so that there is a future path for FPOs. That is one. The other thing which we are looking at is today the 10,000 FPO program had a deadline, and it had a limitation in the sense that we were to make 10,000 FPOs, and then what next? Either we handhold them for some time and then they carry on their own, or is that number enough? Looking at the number of farmers in the country, we have reached about 25 lakh farmers. Now, is that enough? Do we need to do much more? And I think we need to do this on a much bigger scale, on a much larger scale. So we, as a ministry, would try to take it forward and would try to extend this program. Another suggestion which has come, and rightly so, from a lot of CBBOs and FPOs is that the management support or other support which is provided for a period of 3 years may not be sufficient. They may need another support for a year or two, and a graded kind of a support, not a full support, to get onto their feet, to actually reach where we had thought them to reach, we want them to reach. The reason is because I think this is a very critical moment in this journey, and unless and until we don't extend this program for another period of 4 or 5 years, and we bring it to some solid, concrete conclusion, this will be it may be a missed opportunity. So this is another thing which we are thinking of, we are working on, and we want to achieve. Finance, as the colleague from NABARD and many other colleagues have mentioned, is one aspect which is very critical at this time, and especially working capital, because now the FPOs are raring to go. Many FPOs want to get into business, and the basic of working capital is when you do aggregation, you need working capital. And today, if you see the FPO financing, nothing against any NBFC, but then the cost of finance of NBFC itself is quite high. So they are accessing finance at very high rates of interest, which we need to give them instruments where they need this finance on a much bigger scale at a lower interest cost to actually scale what they are doing. We started this program of input licensing, and we under the 100 days program of the new government, and within a period of about 2.5 months, we did almost 30,000 licenses, which basically means that FPOs want these licenses. They want licenses for fertilizers, for seeds, for pesticides, for other inputs, and the marketing licenses, etc. Now that is one part of the story. The other part is to get the companies to actually give them dealerships, to get the companies to give them business, so that they can use this license for generating business and saving their input costs. So these are the broad areas where we are working on. It is a very promising movement. I recently was in discussion with the corporate affairs, looking at some of the regulations which are there and how we can make it easier for FPOs, and we are working on that. So they shared some data with me, and out of these 45,000 FPOs, 24 FPOs have crossed a turnover of 100 crores, which is an MCA filing data. And I think, if I remember the figures correctly, almost 300 to 400 had crossed 20 crores. So, which is very encouraging. And I think it's a work in progress, and I think we need to give it more attention and energy, and we can't afford to leave this moment at this time. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for sharing your forward-looking insight. Now it's my privilege to invite our chief guest, Professor Ramesh Chand, to deliver the keynote address. Professor Chand's expertise on policy and strategy will illuminate the evolving role of FPOs and the impact of India's agriculture landscape.
you. I hope you are not disappointed. Parvesh Sharma ji, who is chair of this steering committee which has produced this wonderful report. Shri Faiz Ahmad Kadwai ji, who is now steering FPO movement in this country from the top, along with Mr. Sahu, both of them, I think, shouldering big responsibility to shape and I would also say determine what will be fate of FPO movement in this country. I would like to begin by congratulating authors and the agencies which have brought this report. Samunnati, headed by NLG, Rabobank, and involvement of NABARD, and idea conceived by Faiz Sahab. I think all of them need to be congratulated for coming out with this report. When I just came, I was mentioning to Parvesh ji that generally when the place of activity of an organization goes to this place, underground, lot of activities become overground. So you prefer to remain overground when you have to create hype or politicize those kind of things. But if you are to apply a reality check and you need to do things but matter at ground level, then you really come to this place. And you also find that people who are genuinely interested, they are still with you, and those who are just there to enjoy samosas and pakoras, they will just go away. So I just find that in terms of institutional support, we were having two parallel organizations. One, of course, SFAC, another NABARD, that they were also parallel promoting this movement. And then there were state level initiatives also. So I just feel that the knowledge about achievement of FPO, knowledge about activities of FPO and how they are moving ahead is available, I would say, only bits and pieces. Sometimes some journalist like Mr. Sanjeev Das will go to Maharashtra, they will get impressed, they will produce that very good FPO in Maharashtra doing very well, therefore all FPO are doing very well. Then you will find another, not Sanjeev Das, but Sanjeev Mukherjee going to, say, Uttar Pradesh. He just find some FPO that it was just to get some subsidy, all those, it produced that kind of article. So that information is important, but that information is not total. That information is not representative of what is happening in the entire sector. I think for those reasons, bringing out this kind of document is very, very important. And let me share with you that there is so much ignorance about FPO movement that I, being member of NITI Aayog, was not knowing that we have crossed 40,000 mark. Really, my impression still was that we started with this new movement of 10,000, and that time there were only 3,000 or so FPO when we started this initiative of 10,000. So maybe there are 15,000 like of this. But if you have really achieved 75% growth in 1 year, between 23 and 24, and number has reached more than 43 or 44,000, I would say that this kind of growth really shows that there are some strong element in this particular model which need closer and more serious attention to see to it that this kind of model is upscaled to much higher level. So I found that not only in terms of number, there is a lot of other information in this report, but kind of women participation, but kind of challenges, financing, policy environment, ease of doing business. In fact, I used to say that in India we need to do more on unease of doing business. So that is what is a constraint. Ease of business is not a constraint. So it just looked at very rich case studies are there in this report. And I expect that Pravesh ji at the end of this will prepare some press statement. It must go to press. The people must. I'm there. Sandeep, I am seeing, and his colleague, they are there. So, once again, congratulations to all those who are involved directly or indirectly in preparing this report. I'm also really impressed by the timings. We used to wait for some auspicious occasion to make some beginning. So you are releasing this report before Diwali, which I think is very, very auspicious time for release of this report. I was just wondering that can we leave FPO as such, or there is a need for some sort of alliance, association, or federation of FPO at district, state, and national levels. But comes to my mind is that all those reasons which apply to creation of FPO also seems to apply to creation of federation of FPOs. Why we create FPO? Because smallholder scale is very low, they have very less bargaining power, they don't have knowledge of market, capacity is not there. So I think FPO address those limitation and weakness of smallholders, but in turn, most of the FPOs, if you look at their management, people who will handle it, they have all those limitations which are there with individual farmers. Bargaining power, scale, look at all those kind of things, which shows that you need this integration, you need this coming of mind together at farmer level and also at organization levels. So that's why I feel that at present it seems to be a very informal kind of integration, as is implied by the word association, National Association of FPO. I think we need to move it to more concrete and more formal kind of arrangement in discussion with Faiz Sahab and Sahu Sahab, that how we can create their body at 3 tiers, district, state, and national level. Also, one thing I want to share that there is a general feeling that when capitalism develops, market take care. Market is competitive. It takes care of most of the things. So, in advanced capitalist economy, there is no place for farmer having their cooperative or having their self-help group or something like that. In fact, if you look at the situation, the cooperatives are much more stronger in the global north than in the global south, though nature of cooperative is different there. So just to counter this view, I published one blog with my friend in FAO. I asked him to collect some information through FAO, what kind of cooperatives operating in Japan, in Denmark, even USA. And then we wrote based on that these cooperatives are needed for farm sector, whether it is thousands of hectares of farmers of USA or it is 1,000 square meter farmer of India. So you need them across the globe, and Given the nature of farming activity, given the nature of demand for farm activities, you will find very frequent incidents of market failures, which often require institutional response. So in that sense, I just feel that even in India, we are now heading toward development and expansion of markets. We are having malls, Walmart, all those, good infrastructure. Physically markets are integrated, in terms of information they are integrated, but still there are market failures, because even the best market during the time of glut will not come to rescue of the farmers, because they will operate as per the market principle. And during glut, market principle says that price must crash. But if price crashes, you can imagine what will be its implication on fate of the farmers. Then I also learned that FPO is also being promoted not only by SFAC or ministry, even under NRLM and SRLM, FPOs are being promoted. Then another is that, again, sometimes people debate if we were giving push to FPO, but for now government has come with cooperative ministry and all those things. Again, I thought about it. I think given our 13 crore agriculture household, given the kind of diversity, that you will find that at some place cooperative will turn out to be a great success and stronger than even multinational corporation. That is what Amul is. But at other place, people loathe the word cooperatives. They are not interested in cooperatives. So in this kind of environment, in this kind of diversity, in this kind of wide dimensions, geographic spread, numbers, I think we need to fire on all engines. We need all kind of models. We need strong private sector, vibrant private sector. We also need government intervention in various ways, direct intervention in various ways. We need cooperative, we need FPO, we need self-help group. So India's needs are so diverse and so vast that there is space for all these models to coexist. We need not think in terms of one versus other. We need to think of which model is best suited for particular setting, size of holding, capacity of people, whether they are landowner, they are tenants, whether they are men, they are women. So depending upon that, we need all those business. Another thing which come to my mind, which is briefly highlighted in the report, is that to get optimum output from FPO should not restrict themselves only to one set of activity, that we will do only output integration and marketing. It should be the entire, but these days we have started fashionably, my friend Olak knows about it, farming system everywhere. So I think there is a need for integrated value chain approach, that FPO must address both cost aspect and return aspect. They should operate in input side and also, of course, on output side, to the extent possible in value addition also. So that is something which I thought I will share with you. We also know that there are constraints, and many FPOs sometimes came to us with the hope that we will help them. That is about institutional credit. This is really an issue. I have seen it even with our personal intervention. It was sometimes very difficult. There was a FPO in Jaipur. I sought intervention of Saji Sahab, that please intervene. They are so enthusiastic now, they are not getting credit. I think this need to be discussed in some high-level meeting. Faiz Sahab, if you can take this initiative, we can have it in ministry or in NITI Aayog. This is really a problem that commercial banks are very reluctant to extend credit to FPO, and people really are very upset about this. So this report, as I just mentioned, that is not covering one dimension. It is covering so many dimensions. You got database, you got state-wise classification, gender information, how it is evolving over time. The only thing which is missing is mortality rate. I would like to know that what is the mortality rate and what are the reasons for that mortality rate. Some is expected, because you know that there are some people in every society, not that they are only in India, that they keep looking at what scheme is coming from government and how they can benefit from it. Their interest is only that much, not success of scheme. Though they are there. Like in industry, you give some tax holidays. So some people will just create some kind of structure and show as if they are producing output. The moment tax holiday is over, you find that industry is also over, because there are people who are interested only in subsidy content. But their number is few, and I think mortality rate is mostly related to those kind of things, but in some cases it may be related to some fundamental issues concerning FPO also. More interest in knowing those fundamental issues, that this FPO was floated by genuine people. They were keen in its success, but still it could not. So we need to address those kind of issues separately. You provide very good idea about gender, that maybe 800 or whatever FPO are headed by, are all women FPO. I think this indicator is important, but more subtle indicator of women empowerment is, out of 40,000, how many FPO are CEO are women? In the total membership of whatever 1 crore, 2 crore, what is the participation of women? So many a time you require this record of land ownership, that is women total percent in the land ownership is less than 10%. You can't expect that maximum number that can be there as a member is 10% if you don't recognize tenant, etc. Again, I want to draw attention of Faiz Sahab and Sahu Sahab that we need to do something on this. I have some innovative idea, though I could never convince Beena Agarwal about that idea. She writes a lot on women's rights. So I have been telling her since my days in IG in year 2002 that in India, to get ownership in the name of women will require generations. It will require generations. It will happen, but it will take generations. It is happening, but very, 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 very small. So it will require generations. So I told her that one simple way is that if we ask the state government that where men is not there, you also mentioned in the report that men are outside for employment, somebody is in army, somebody is in government, somebody somewhere, and women are doing most of the work, are handling their farm. I know it because my mother was one of those. In those kind of cases, in the land record, there are 2 columns. One is Bhumihar ka naam, landowner. Second is name of the cultivator. So Amitav and actual cultivator. So at least in those cases, without creating any discord in the family, woman name can go. Then she become legally entitled to all kind of benefits which you want to give. That is easy thing to implement and operate, rather than this another very strong but very difficult idea of that now we have a Supreme Court, we have a law and all those things, that land will go to all, whether it is boy or girl, in same proportion. That's not happening on the ground. So I think this is one easy way which we need to float in some form. I think I should not be taking more time, but if I look at future of agriculture, whether FPO will be more suitable, our environment is not very conducive for FPO, also depends upon how government treat different crops and different products. If government is, concerned that we want to maintain some price stability, like for staples, and we will intervene, then that kind of enterprise is less amenable to private activity or SFAC activity. Like wheat and rice, we are just seeing it that more and more wheat and rice is procured by government, because government is interested to maintain some price stability for producer as well as consumers. So in those kind of situation, I feel that the scope for success and business of FPO is less. But if you look at the way demand and supply of agriculture produce in the country is changing, it is moving away from the commodities where government had very strong interest. Like from demand side, if I share with you that the share of expenditure on cereal between 12 and 23 recent survey has come, even for bottom 20% categories, has come down from 22% to 11%. Whereas share of fruit and vegetable, eggs, milk, dairy, it has increased. So even if government is giving strong support to cereal, etc., because demand side factors are not as strong for those commodities, you find the growth rate is not more than 1.5 to 2%, whereas growth rate in horticulture, livestock products is 4%, fishery 9%, livestock 6%, those kind of things. So since from supply side and demand side, composition of agriculture is shifting in favor of those kind of products, that to my mind augurs very well for business of private sector as well as business of institution like FPO. So once again, I want to congratulate the team for very useful and very exciting work, and this will, I think, be very helpful even for the ministry in shaping the policies for FPO. So good luck to all of you associated with FPO, and good luck for FPO. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for your inspiring address and for shedding light on the future trajectory of the sector. As we approach the conclusion of today's program, I would like to invite Mr. Anish Kumar, Trustee of NAFPO, to deliver the closing remark and extend the vote of thanks. Sir, over to you.
Just two things. Whatever sir mentioned about finance, so we have, sir, taken it up with Department of Financial Services, and 2-3 things. One is sensitization of the bankers. Second is making some instruments for FPO financing, exclusive instruments, and I think very soon we'll see something there. Second thing, since the scheme did not have much support at the state level, in the sense institutional support, so we have with the IndusInd Bank's CSR wing, we have entered into an agreement recently. So in about 11 states, they are giving us support at the state level, technical support for FPO, which basically, and at the central level of project monitoring units for a period of 3 years. I think that will help. Thank you.
respected sirs on the dais, friends. This is very special, as you were mentioning, Diwali Eve on an afternoon, having so many of us here, and representative of the different segments of the FPO ecosystem, is affirmation of the trust in the FPOs, the power of FPOs to connect marginal farmers to the market. So thank you very much for joining us today. And if I start with the our editor, Professor Ashish, thank you so much for helping us put together the idea of state of sector reports, and this is Thanksgiving. So Dheeraj and Arindam, in one of our steering committee meeting, Arindam suggested that we should come up with a state of sector report to stabilize the FPO sector. So very grateful that both of you are here, and we have built on that idea. This is the 4th edition, and each edition we have added new elements there. The authors of this volume include academicians like Dr. Sanjeev Fansalkar, practitioners Samar, Sanjeev, Tarun, and we have a partnership with Mark Blackett, and he has been again, sir, as you were saying, the collectivization of farmers to survive in the market economy, we see more in the north. So Japan, Korea, and US, we also looked at the total proportion of these collective organizations, farmer collective organizations in the farm economy is significant. So he brings in that perspective. And Anil, you contributed to that chapter and that chapter really, brings about the importance of gender intentionality in FPOs. And I remember in one of the initial conversations when 10,000 FPO was launched, we were talking about what about women. And the conversation was that let's first get the FPOs with men and then we'll think about women. So it is a very important chapter there. And if I can also say, Anil, the first report was released at Samunnati event, Agri Open Network event, and some of us were there around that time. But the most significant thing that you talked about, and that has been brought in the FPO sector, is this FPOs as an asset class. This has a phenomenal unlock value. And if I were to look at Desab, your address, and there are significant points that we picked up, and I'm sure my colleagues would pick up the points to strengthen the report, like bringing in more participation of corporates. So there is, in the last year's report, sir, and 4 reports, we'll share with you, all the 4 reports with you, because they did touch on different elements. We had brought about this partnership of corporates for FPO promotion, and some case studies were there in the last year's report. We'll also like to bring in the role of accelerators, like there are some agriculture universities which have set up a FPO acceleration, just like CBBOs, the role of capital. And sir, as you said, mortality rate. And this is very significant. We do keep tracking it, but it has to be brought in the public domain. And I looked at the startup mortality and the corporate mortality. And as you said, sir, if the intentions are right, FPOs would be better than them, sir. And it does look like, but we will bring it in the next year's report, sir. And the very important point you brought about when we talk of women FPOs, what is their space in the management? We intend to bring about that in next year's report, sir. The other things that you talked about, skewed distribution, the overall participation, 11-12%, but the intent was not there. But NAFPO is closely working with NRLM, and they are with Faiz Saab is here with ministry's support. They are promoting 850 women-only FPOs. And with Samunnati, which is with a value chain with Sir SFAC, Samunnati and NAFPO are together, they have only promoted women-only FPOs, sir. There are 74 women-only FPOs promoted by Samunnati as a part of arrangement with SFAC, and 850 is through NRLM. We talked about compliance, and 82%. This number is, very pertinent. But I had looked at a number which say NRLM promoted FPOs, sir, or Samunnati promoted FPOs, or where you have a very active CBBOs. The number in terms of compliances are very high, close to 100%. For example, we work with UPSRLM, is 100%. And at NAFPO, we have created a framework for ensuring outsourcing of compliances, just as you would see with the corporate sector like India filings and stuff like that. But it needs to be strengthened and it needs to be popularized. It should be part of the acceleration agenda, because if you have 82% compliances, that would be a real challenge. The other part that you talked about in terms of the quality, I was looking at just the numbers, 40,000 FPOs, or in either way 10,000 FPOs, 25 lakh farmers. So if we look at the SFAC's management leg up support that is there, we are looking at a break-even volume of 10,000 crores. If it is not at 10,000 crores, it will not be able to meet its cost. Installed capacity, if you were to look at roughly gross crop output per farmer of about 2 lakh odd, you are looking at 50,000 odd crore of installed capacity in these FPOs. So if it is 1,500, and it is very heartening, 400 plus as Faisab you referred to, or 420 crore plus. So again, sir, I was thinking, Pravesh sir, to include this 100 crore club and 20 crore club, what makes them tick? And the point that, sir, you said about looking at non-government intervened commodities like livestock and all, they could be important areas. So we intend to look at that in the coming report, sir. And very readily we'll like to partner with NABARD in coming up with the report. The other points that many of us discussed on compliances, we would like to do that study also, and like to work with NABARD to ensure that we have not 80% on the other side, but 80% on the positive side compliance. Credit Bureau, Anil, that you talked about, that is area that NAFPO would be very keen to work on. FPO assessment tools, sir, as you were talking about, we'll be very keen to work on that. And the federate structure, Pravesh sir, and we have been discussing, Anil, and Faisal will come up with a plan for how you federate, when the model would be different. The milk model is there, the cooperative model is there, but here we'll have to look at a slightly different model of, as sir, you put it, integrated value chain, and around these commodities we'll have to look at that space. So we will we have got lot of action point for us to work on, and we will include that as a part of the NAFPO's action agenda, and also with the report's action agenda. And very grateful, Ramesh Chand sir, for coming. And I have been following you for a long time, while FPOs are recent, but you have always argued for a commercial-oriented institutional supply in the farm sector. In some ways, that differentiate the FPO from the earlier cooperative, while cooperatives are commercial entities. But that is the point that you brought, not just, sir, your, the whole landscape that you drew, but more pertinent is the practical insights that you brought around the issue of land. It is something doable. Many states could pick it up. We should look at that. Faisal, thank you so much for, you have always been encouraging us, and we were part of this FPO policy for formulation, and I think that would create a space for lot of, not just the government, but agencies like SRLM and other World Bank colleagues are here, FAO colleagues are here. They're also working in the FPO space to expand that. And with this support of setting up a PMU and at the state, there would be a lot of traction there. We would be very keen to participate and work on that. The other one thought, sir, for you was the Krishi Nivesh portal now looks at linking various schemes. So on the licensing, again, you are absolutely right. The FPOs, and there are examples. For example, again, in the case of the Samunnati SFAC NAFPO work, almost all the FPOs have got a seed license, have got a license for fertilizer, for plant protection, and mandi license. So it is possible to do that with some framework in place. It should be possible to do that. And Dheeraj sir, the second FPO report was actually launched in the SFAC office, sir. And and we know, and when you talk about this acceleration has happened. So between Parvesh sir and you, this is 2004 to 2024, sir. That's the 2-decade journey of the FPO movement in India. So you have that kind of experience span there sitting, and this whole movement of FPO, today we are talking of 40,000 plus. So it has happened because of SFAC's leadership, and we look forward to your continued leadership in this space. And today is, while we released the State of Sector report, but the conversations we did here, and your guidance and insights that we got, the national nodal agencies there are a couple of implementing agencies sitting in this room, and there are many more who are involved with the FPO ecosystem. We'll take back these insights to strengthen the FPOs on ground and ensure that the associative tiers and the supportive ecosystem is in place. So thank you so much for joining us. And Parvesh sir, for you, this is an idea, and the NAFPO idea. Again, this is about, sir, we ideated around this in 2016, sir. And it was in SFAC's, this was the NCDC meeting, sir, conference hall, where we started talking about it. So it is sometime 8 years. In 8 years, NAFPO has contributed to building the ecosystem in some ways, and we would, with the support of SFAC, the ministry, and the NITI Aayog, will like to continue this work and ensure that we have vibrant and robust FPOs on ground, which don't die easily. And so thank you very much. There is tea served out. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, sir, for the thoughtful closing remarks. Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes the formal segment of our program. We now invite you to join us for high tea, where you can continue the discussion in a more informal setting. Thank you once again for your participation and support in making today's event a success. Thank you.